Alright, we have ourselves an Asus, let me check the model number here, K53E model laptop. Technically it's a BBR11, but most of the K53E laptops probably use the same type screen. So as you can see, it's a bit busted over here on the side. So we're gonna see if we can take care of that. So if the machine's on, shut it down. Step 1. Once the machine's off, if it's plugged in, make sure to unplug it. Close the lid, turn it over, make sure to take the battery out. There are 2 clips that hold in the battery. One snaps over, the other one you'll have to hold, and then the battery should slide right out. Now we don't have to worry about accidentally turning the laptop on. Go ahead and open up the lid again. Around the bezel of the screen, you will see 2 sort of nubs towards the bottom. Those are covers for screws, so we are going to need to get something to peel those off. So I am going to take this little prying tool here and just get under the edge, and one comes off. Just going to stick it to the top case here so I don't lose it, and the other comes off. Nice and easy. And that will reveal 2 screws. So grab a screwdriver here and we'll see what bit fits that. We'll start with a 1, and a Phillips size 1 bit is a perfect match. So we will unscrew this, take that out, set it aside. Take the other screw out on the other side, set it aside. Alright, now the rest of this should just snap on. So starting probably in the bottom, just work your fingers underneath of the plastic edge and pull gently until it pops off. And just work your way around the edge and just sort of rotate outward, and it should snap right off. You'll have to give it a little bit of pressure. Ooh, it feels like there might be a little bit of glue up there. No, I don't think so. I was gonna say it felt like there could have been, but I don't think there is. So alright, let's keep rotating. Alright, and eventually the bezel will come off. Let's set that aside. Now we are to our screen. There are 3 Phillips screws here, 3 Phillips screws here, and 1 in each corner. All of those will probably need to come off. So just start taking them off. Alright, bottom screws are out. Now time for the top 2 in the corners. Now at this point, usually, yep, I was going to say the back panel is loose. So just sort of lay it down and straighten your screen up, because on each side of the screen you have 4 screws that you'll need to take out. However, I highly recommend first sort of laying this flat. Don't stretch this cable too tight here. So if you need to move this back a little, move it back. But what you're going to want to do is there is a cable that is attached to the back of the screen. It is held in place by tape. So you're going to want to get something to pry up that tape gently. and gently remove this connector. Now it is also, besides taped in place on top, it has a little bit of adhesive on the bottom. So you're going to gently peel that up, peel the tape up, and the connector should come off right like that. Now we're ready to put our screen back up and take out the 4 screws on each side. Those look quite a bit smaller, so we're gonna see, nope, there's still a Phillips one. So we'll just take these out. And I'm gonna start from the bottom up so as that it'll basically hang on the top 2 until I remove them. So that should be the easiest. And the old screen is removed, and we have the replacement screen. And initial inspection looks real good. I'm just going to leave this plastic taped to it for the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these screws that we just took off the side. First off, actually put away my knife, way no one gets hurt. But take these screws and place them on my screwdriver because it is magnetized. And I'm going to try to line up one side here, a top hole. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick this through the hole and then just try to line that up as best as I can. That was pretty easy. And then we're just going to let that sit there and do the same thing on the other side. And now at this point the monitor will pivot between these 2 screws in the bracket, but you should be able to pivot it so that the other holes line up and you can very easily screw them back in. Now, just like we did before, I'm going to lay this flat down, and we have our connector piece, and peeling the tape back and keeping the adhesive up, we are going to put this connector in. You line it up and then just give it a nice little push on the back end, and it should go in pretty easy. You'll hear just a small snap, and then you can press down on the ribbon cable to reattach the adhesive and press down on the tape to make it nice and secure so as that if you pull on it, it won't pull out of the socket. So it makes a nice good connection. Now that that's done, we'll take the back and line up the back with the screw holes again. So that's usually pretty easy, starting at the top, and then the bottom should just line up on its own. So now we'll put these screws back down in here on each side. Now if you don't remember which places they go, remember that the front bezel screws on and it's in the very lower corners. So in this corner, it is the most it is the lowest right hole that you want to keep open, and on this corner it's the lowest left hole you want to keep open. Now is a good time to check that this cable down under here is still routed within where it will be behind the plastic, because if it's hanging out down below, when you go to put the front bezel on, it could pinch it. So if it is hanging down below, or any part is hanging below, just sort of push it up, potentially up against the screen, but just up in that general area so as that it doesn't hang out below. Just go ahead and line this up. Use the screw holes as a guide and the edges, but just work yourself around the edge and you will hear it pop back in if you did it correctly. So this is also the point that I like to shut the laptop and press on the back, just gently, not enough to break the screen, but just gently, because that tends to be an easier way to snap the back, because they come together right here, and since you have the battery out, you can actually pinch that together, which is much easier to do than trying to, you know, wedge your hands together like that. So now you just want to put the screws back in each corner. And now we have our little screw covers. And this will be the hardest part of this whole process, of getting these back on. Actually, neither one of those was too bad. So screws are nice and covered up. New screen is installed. So now we can put the battery back in and lock the clip. And if you don't have good battery, or the battery power is low, plug it back into power and turn it on, and if all went well, you have a fully functioning screen that is no longer broken.